Alright, guys, so today I just felt like ranting. I'm gonna start a little thing I call shit I just don't like. And today we have the top three cheapest decks/decks I just don't like. Alright, so coming in at number three is Mermails. The deck is just way too good, and I mean, it can OTK from nowhere. It creates ridiculous amount of advantage. You don't even have to worry about shit because it's like, oh, I ditch two cards to summon Megalo and like run right into a Mirror Force. Doesn't even matter because I plussed off of discarding. So it fucking doesn't even matter how terrible of a player I am. If you're running Mermails, honestly, like, it's the number one deck I see where, like, skillless players just take it and win with it because they play like shit with it, but the deck's just like, nope, I'm just too good to lose. Like, this deck is just too good to lose, even in the hands of shitty players. And now I understand some of the top players are using this deck because it's the best deck and because it wins a lot. And I understand there are some really good Mermail players that really know the deck inside and out, and Jeff Jones is a fucking boss with this deck. Like, there are some people that are really good with this deck, but then there's some just really, really shitty, skillless players that just pick up this deck and win a few duels with it, and suddenly they think they're fucking good. And no. Mermails is just fucking overpowered, and it needs to be hit by the ban list, not to the point of killing the deck, but to the point where it at least takes some skill and forethought to run the damn thing. So, Mermails is my number three deck that I don't like on this, as far as being just a cheap deck. Cheap or skillless. Alright, number two, Dark Worlds. Now, again, there's some damn good people that run Dark Worlds, and I understand there's like a decision tree you got to make. Okay, I pitch Snow, I have this in my hand, I need this, and if I get this to my hand, I can do this. And there's a bunch of decisions you can make that really will affect how the duel goes. And so I understand there are some very skilled players that run Dark Worlds, but a lot of times, like, the majority of Dark World players you will see are people that are just skillless, have no idea what they're doing, and just run the deck because it can fuck with your hand. Grapha's just the most ridiculous boss monster ever. And, I mean, it's just skillless players can pick up this deck and win with it just because of how goddamn aggressive it is and how hard it is to stop this deck once it gets rolling. I mean, if you've got Grapha in the field and you use an E-Virus and send him off to the grave to fuck up your opponent's hand, you can just put a Dark World on the field and put Grapha right back on the field. He is an unlimited source of deck devies, of Eradicator viruses, of just fucking up your opponent's hand. Plus you have Drag Down to the Grave, you have Mind Crush, and you can run all of those things in three. You're just fucking up your opponent's hand, and just really, it's just a deck where there are some really skilled players that run it and run it incredibly well, but there's a lot of skillless players that just take the deck and win because if you get card destruction with Dark Worlds, you win, or you suck really bad, but you should win. So that's why I just don't like Dark Worlds, because skillless players that have no idea what the fuck they're doing just, oh, I am the fucking terrible duelist, I'm gonna just get Dark Worlds because I'm probably gonna win anyway, because Dark Worlds will lose game 2 and 3 to a side deck that's even remotely decent, but on Dueling Network, kids are like, oh, I won the game against you. It's like, I'm so good. No, you're fucking running Dark Worlds. Piss off. The number one cheap-ass deck that I do not fucking like is Light Sworns. The shit needs to die. And before yesterday, Lightsworn would have been number 2, and Dark World would have been number 1. But let me share a little experience with you. So I was playing Gear Machina, and first turn I summon Gear Arsenal, tribute him, get his effect, special summon Gear Armor, use his effect to flip him face down. So my opponent knows what I have on the field. I don't know what he's running yet, but he knows what I have on the field. And he goes, uses Charge of the Light Brigade, mills 2 different Lightsworns and a spell. And he adds to his hand Summoner Monk. And I'm like, oh, god damn it, I'm hosed, you know? He's just gonna put the fucking Gear Armor right back into my deck. I don't get to search. Like, it's all bad news for me if he has Monk, because then Gear Armor is just gone. Just gone. But instead, this motherfucker summons Lumina. And I'm like, what? And then he pitches Monk to the grave. I'm like, oh, he's going to pitch Monk to the grave with Lumina and reborn Monk. That way he can attack through Gear Armor and then punch for some damage with Lila. Not a bad plan. No, not what he does. He pitches Monk to the grave, knowing I have a Searcher on the field, and summons, like, Lila, and uses its effect to get rid of my back row, which was a fucking Lance. And so I just Lance his Lumina, because I might as well, you know? And then he uses a fucking, Foolish Burial to put his wolf in the grave and then reborn it so he can run over my armor. And I'm just like sitting here like, you just let me get my search off, so thank you, but you're fucking horrible and I should crush you. Long story short, I get my search off. He does punches for like 200 damage, and then he goes into an overlay with the Lila and Wolf. And then at the end of the turn, I'm like, you know, he like ends his turn. I'm like, aren't you going to mill? And he's like, no, you lanced me. And I'm like, the fuck? That doesn't stop your monster's effects. He's like, yeah, it does. I'm like, no, it stops spell and trap. Like, this kid had no idea what the hell Lance does. He has no idea how to get around Searchers, a card he knew was a Searcher. Like, this kid's a complete scrub. But you want to know what happened? He got 4 fucking Lightsworns in the grave, turn 1. Turn 2, I go off, and I put like 3 cards on the field. 3 pretty big cards on the field. And I do a lot of damage to him. And then you know what he does? He Judgment Dragons me. Regekis my field, and punches for 3,000. I'm like, fuck. Cheap ass bullshit. I'm like, alright, I got it under control. Summon Machina Fortress. Summon Machina Gear Frame. Add Fortress to my hand, ditch it and another card, special summon it, suicide it into Dragon, take 500 damage, use its effect, send Judgment Dragon to the grave, punch for 1,800 damage. I'm like, okay, it's good. Judgment Dragon's gone. And if he had 2, he would have summoned both of them, so I'm fine. And then he's just like, oh, Monster Reincarnation, ditches a card, Judgment Dragon again, boom, brings it back out, Regekis the field. And this is the most skillless motherfucker that has no idea how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And he just double Regeki'd my field with Judgment Dragon and just derps to his win with an overpowered, bullshit-ass card that's way too easy to summon and way too easy to get back from your grave. So, number 1 bullshit-ass deck that takes no skill to run is Judgment Dragon and the fucking Lightsworn deck. Because I admit there's some people that know how to run the deck and they can run it pretty well and they don't have to rely on Judgment Dragon, but most people, all they know is derp derp derp, I just got a mill till I get a Judgment Dragon. And it just is like, most people are just like, if I draw Judgment Dragon, I win. If I don't, I lose. And most decks, you're like, okay, I gotta get a couple combo pieces, and the deck is designed to get those pieces to your hand so you can go off and you can do things. And you know, like, I understand there's luck in Yu-Gi-Oh! There is an element of luck. But in my decks, if I don't have the combo pieces, like with Gear Gears, I can search shit, I can set up my combos, and I can go off. In Lightsworn, it's all luck. It's, did you mill 4 different Lightsworns? Okay. Did you draw a Judgment Dragon? Like, it's all the luck of drawing one single card. There is no thought process. There is nothing. It's just, herp-a-derp, I drew a Judgment Dragon. So that's why Lightsworns are the biggest bullshit deck of any format ever, and it's why Judgment Dragon needs to fucking die, okay? As a card, it needs to go, in my opinion, to 1. Because then maybe some people will start learning how to actually use Lightsworns with a decent amount of skill. Because Light Rays are still cards, and you can still run them, and they have, like, the same summoning conditions as Judgment Dragon. They're just not as herp-a-derp bullshit. So, if you play Lightsworns, go ahead and dislike this video and just get the fuck off out of here because you're a bitch. That's all.